Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel. Enjoy the listening. Humanity uncovers colossal starships, a galactic game changer. The bitter Antarctic wind howled across the research station as Dr. Ju Park stared at her monitor in disbelief. The ground-penetrating radar had detected something impossible, a perfect geometric structure buried 2 kilometers beneath the ice. Director Kim, she called out, her voice shaking. You need to see this. Director Don Kim shuffled through the cramped research module, his weathered face illuminated by the blue glow of the screen. What am I looking at, Dr. Park? Something artificial, something that shouldn't be here. Within days, the small research outpost transformed into an international hub of activity. Teams of scientists and engineers descended upon the site as specialized drilling equipment was flown in. Security Chief Taho Lee established a perimeter, keeping curious journalists at bay. When they finally broke through, the team lowered cameras into the darkness. What they captured stunned the world. A metallic hull stretching beyond the range of their lights, covered in symbols that resembled ancient human writing systems, yet predated all known civilizations. It's not just a structure, Ju whispered as the first analysis came in. It's a vessel, a ship unlike anything we've ever imagined. The discovery shook the scientific community to its core. Dr. Ju Park had come to Antarctica to study ice core samples, not to find what might be the greatest archaeological discovery in human history. As the initial shock wore off, she found herself working 18-hour days trying to make sense of the find. The metal doesn't match any known alloy, said Henwu, the material scientist who had flown in from Seoul University. He held up a tiny sample they had managed to extract. It's stronger than anything we've ever created, and it shows no signs of decay despite being buried for what must be thousands of years. Director Kim organized the growing research team into specialized groups. Ju led the main research effort while Taho handled security. The world's governments had agreed to keep the full nature of the discovery secret, but rumors spread quickly. Satellite images showed the growing camp, and soon reporters were camping just beyond the security perimeter. 3 weeks after the initial discovery, the drilling team finally created an entrance large enough for people to enter. Ju insisted on being part of the first exploration team. I found it. I should be there, she told Director Kim. It's too dangerous, he argued. We don't know what's in there. Exactly why I need to go. The first team consisted of 6 people: Ju, Tayo, 2 military specialists, a structural engineer, and a medical doctor. They wore special protective suits and carried enough supplies for 8 hours. Each person had cameras attached to their helmets. The entrance tunnel led to a vast dark chamber. Their lights seemed to disappear into the darkness, unable to reach the far walls or ceiling. This is impossible, whispered Tao. The radar didn't show a space this large. As they moved forward, floor lights began to activate, creating a path ahead of them. The team froze. Something's responding to our presence, Ju said. The automatic lighting system was just the first surprise. As they ventured deeper, they discovered that the air inside was perfectly breathable. The temperature remained at a constant, comfortable level. Most shockingly, gravity seemed to vary in different sections, becoming lighter and larger chambers. This technology is beyond anything we've ever developed, Ju said, recording everything with her instruments. And yet these controls seemed designed for human hands. 4 hours into their exploration, they reached what appeared to be a central chamber. The room was circular with what looked like control panels arranged in a ring. In the center stood a raised platform. Don't touch anything, Teo warned. But as Ju approached the central platform, it began to glow. A soft blue light spread across its surface. Symbols appeared, similar to those they had seen on the outer hull. It's reacting to you, the medical doctor said, checking his instruments. Your heart rate increased just before it activated. Ju stepped onto the platform. The light intensified, and suddenly a 3-dimensional map appeared above them. Stars, planets, and what appeared to be flight paths stretched across the chamber. It's a star map, Ju said in wonder. But some of these stars are in the wrong positions. The structural engineer studied the map. Unless this map shows star positions from either the distant past or future, stars move over time. As they continued to study the map, one point pulsed brighter than the others. Ju realized it corresponded to Earth's position. Then several other points began to pulse as well. Those locations, Ju said, pointing, they match Mars, Venus, and Europa. Back at the base camp, the team shared their findings with Director Kim and the other scientists. The implications were staggering. The ship had not been built by aliens but seemed designed specifically for humans. And if the map was correct, similar vessels were waiting to be discovered elsewhere in the solar system. More exploration teams entered the ship over the next few days. They discovered vast chambers that seemed designed to house thousands of people. There were areas that appeared to be food production systems, water recycling facilities, and even entertainment spaces. This wasn't just a ship, Ju told Director Kim during one of their briefings. It was meant to carry a large population over immense distances. As the research continued, Ju became convinced of something even more incredible. I think humans built this, she said. Not modern humans, but an ancient civilization far more advanced than anything we've imagined possible. The symbols on the walls were gradually being decoded. They seemed to be an early form of many Earth languages, as if they were the common ancestor from which all human languages had evolved. 1 month after the discovery, Ju made the breakthrough they had been waiting for. In a previously unexplored section, she found what appeared to be a historical record chamber. The walls displayed images showing the construction of the ship by humans. They built it to escape, Ju explained as she showed the images to Director Kim. Something was coming, something terrible. They built these ships as arcs. The final piece fell into place when instruments aboard the International Space Station detected energy signatures coming from Mars, Venus, and beneath Europa's ice, exactly matching the location shown on the star map. Humanity hadn't just found one ship, they had discovered a fleet. And it seemed the ships were waking up. 3 months later, the first exploration team prepared to enter the vessel. Dr. Ju Park adjusted her helmet as Commander N. Kang performed the final equipment check. Remember, he instructed the 6-person team, we maintain contact at all times. Any sign of danger, we retreat immediately. The entry point was a massive doorway that had opened on its own 2 days earlier, releasing air that analysis showed was perfectly breathable, as if someone had prepared for their arrival. Inside, they discovered something impossible, a space that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Corridors stretched for kilometers, gravity shifted in controlled zones, and self-contained ecosystems thrived in vast chambers. This isn't just advanced technology, said Engineer Hyan Ru as she examined a control panel that illuminated at her touch. This was built for human use. In the central command hub, the team made their most shocking discovery. The ship's systems activated when Ju placed her hand on what appeared to be a sensor panel. A holographic interface materialized, displaying a message in an ancient language that inexplicably began translating itself. Welcome home, children of Earth. Your inheritance awaits. The message hung in the air, glowing with soft blue light. The team stood frozen, staring at words that should not exist, words that somehow knew they were coming. How is this possible? Hagen whispered. Her fingers hovered near the hologram, but did not touch it. Ju stepped closer to the control panel. It recognized my DNA. It must have. Commander Kang moved the team back. We need to report this before we proceed. But the ship had other plans. The hologram expanded, filling the chamber with stars and planets. A timeline appeared, showing Earth thousands of years in the past. Images formed of people building massive ships. They looked human, yet their technology was far beyond anything known today. It's showing us who built this, said Tong, the team's historian. An ancient human civilization. The timeline continued, showing a great disaster approaching Earth, the ships, 8 of them, departing. Then the disaster struck, and civilization fell. The few humans who remained started again from nothing. They left these ships behind, Ju said, understanding dawning on her face. They left them for us to find when we were ready. Over the next week, more teams entered the ship. Scientists from every field wanted to study its wonders. The vessel, which they now called Hesk, meaning Morning Star, continued to reveal its secrets. The ship was enormous. Early mapping suggested it was over 30 kilometers in length with multiple levels. Parts of it extended so deep that they connected to natural caverns beneath the Antarctic bedrock. Ju spent most of her time in the command hub with Hagen. They learned to use the holographic interface, which adapted to their movements and seemed to anticipate their questions. It's teaching us how to use it, Hagen said one day. It's not just responding, it's guiding us. The most surprising discovery came when they accessed the ship's memory banks. The vessel wasn't just a ship, it could transform. Its outer layers could shift and change, allowing it to travel through space, water, or even bore through solid rock. That's how it buried itself, Ju realized. It wasn't trapped here. It hid itself on purpose. Commander Kang was more interested in the ship's power source. Deep in the lowest level, they found a room that hummed with energy. At its center floated a sphere of light contained within layered fields. Our readings make no sense, said Joan, the team's physicist. This energy output should be impossible. It's like having a star in a bottle. As they explored more of the ship, they found living quarters that could house thousands, food production systems still functional after millennia, and medical facilities beyond modern understanding. They planned to save as many as possible, Tom said as they explored a vast chamber filled with suspended animation pods. But something happened. They never used these. The greatest shock came 60 days into the exploration. Zhu was working alone in the command hub late at night when the holographic interface changed. A figure appeared, a woman in strange clothing, her features similar to those of modern humans, but subtly different. Genetic match confirmed, the figure said in a voice that sounded eerily human. Full systems access granted to inheritor Zhu Park. Zhu called for Hijin and Commander Kang. By the time they arrived, the figure was explaining the ship's purpose. I am the Hess guidance system, the figure said, created to assist the inheritors when they returned. Returned? Kang asked. We've never been here before. The figure smiled. Not you specifically, but your ancestors built this vessel and its sisters. When the void current approached, they knew Earth would not survive intact. Some fled on world ships to distant stars, others remained, using genetic modification to help their descendants survive the coming dark age. You're saying we're their descendants? Zhu asked. The ones who stayed? Correct. Modified to survive radiation and climate change, designed to rebuild civilization and eventually rediscover your inheritance. The implications stunned them. If this was true, human history was nothing like they had thought. What they called prehistoric times had come after an advanced civilization, not before. Where are the other ships? Kang asked. The hologram showed a map of the solar system. Here, and here. Points of light appeared on Mars, Venus, Europa, and several asteroids. 8 world ships, each with different purposes. Zhu leaned forward. What is the Hess purpose? Knowledge and navigation, the figure replied. This vessel contains the complete history of your ancestors and the star maps needed to find those who left. The next day, satellite data confirmed energy signatures activating at the exact location shown on the map. The other ships were waking up too. World governments scrambled to organize missions to Mars and Venus. The European Space Agency redirected a probe already approaching Europa to investigate the energy signature there. Meanwhile, the Hess continued to awaken. Systems that had been dormant for millennia activated one by one. The ship began to hum with power. In one dramatic moment, a section of the outer hull repaired damage from the initial drilling, the metal flowing like water before hardening again. A month later, Zhu made another breakthrough. With full access to the ship's systems, she discovered how to activate its communication array. The moment it powered up, it detected something no human instrument ever had, signals coming from distant stars. There are others out there, she told Director Kim during an emergency meeting. The ones who left on the other world ships. They've been waiting for us to answer. As scientists worked to decode the signals, Zhu spent more time with the ship's guidance system, learning the true nature of their inheritance. The Hess wasn't just a vessel, it was a seed. Given the right commands, it could reshape itself, grow, and even move planets. Our ancestors had the power to reshape solar systems, she explained to a stunned group of world leaders via video conference. And now that power is in our hands. The question no one could answer was simply, why now? Why had the ships awakened after remaining dormant for so long? The answer came when the guidance system showed Zhu a scan of deep space. Something was moving toward our solar system, something vast and dark that consumed light itself. The void current returns, the holographic figure said, as was foretold. The world ships awakened because they are needed once more. The vessel beneath Antarctica was just the beginning. Similar structures were discovered on Mars, Venus, and beneath the ice of Europa, the dormant fleet awaiting humanity's touch. As the first ship, now named Hanel, prepared for its maiden voyage, Earth's orbital sensors detected approaching vessels from deep space. We're tracking 7 objects decelerating toward Earth orbit, announced Space Defense Coordinator Juno Choi. They're transmitting in multiple frequencies. The first communication shocked everyone. We greet the children of the world ship builders. Your awakening echoes across the stars. The arrival of the alien diplomatic fleet revealed humanity's unexpected place in the cosmos. The represented species, diverse beyond imagination, approached with a mixture of reverence and trepidation. Ambassador Suman Bey led the first contact team during the historic meeting aboard the neutral orbital platform. She discovered that humans were unknowingly the descendants of the most powerful civilization the galaxy had ever known, one that had mysteriously vanished 50,000 years ago, leaving behind only legends and their abandoned world ships. Your ancestors could move planets, explained the amphibious diplomat from the tidal confederacy. Their disappearance created the power vacuum that shaped our current galactic community. Earth, previously isolated and considered primitive, suddenly found itself holding the keys to the most powerful technology in known space. The 7 alien ships hung in Earth orbit like jewels against the black of space. Each vessel was different, some smooth and curved, others angular and crystalline. They ranged in size from small shuttles to massive carriers. On Earth, billions watched live feeds of these visitors, the first proof that humanity was not alone in the universe. Ambassador Spa had been a career diplomat with a background in linguistics. Nothing in her training had prepared her for this moment. As her shuttle approached the neutral platform, a hastily assembled space station positioned between Earth and the alien fleet, she tried to calm her racing heart. "Remember," said Chono over her private channel, "we represent all of Earth now, not just one nation." The neutral platform had been Suman's idea. When the aliens suggested meeting on their vessel, military advisors had objected. When Earth suggested a ground meeting, the aliens had declined. This space station, built from parts of the International Space Station and several national platforms, became their compromise. Suman's team included Dr. Ju Park, Commander Mun Kang, and 5 specialists chosen for their expertise. They were the first humans to ever meet beings from another world. The meeting chamber was simple, a round room with a large table. Air pressure, temperature, and gravity had been adjusted to compromise settings that all species could tolerate. When the airlock opened and the alien representatives entered, Suman forced herself to remain calm despite her amazement. There were 5 different species. One moved on 6 limbs and had skin that shifted colors as it moved. Another floated above the ground, its body translucent and glowing from within. The third appeared almost human except for its silver skin and eyes with vertical pupils. The fourth was the amphibious being with webbed hands and gills visible on its neck. The fifth remained mostly hidden within an environmental suit, only its many-faceted eyes visible through a visor. "We welcome you in peace," Suman said, bowing slightly. The amphibious being stepped forward. "I am Speaker Yulam of the Tidal Confederacy. We are here as representatives of the Galactic Concord, a union of 37 spacefaring species." The translator implants they had all been provided with converted his watery speech perfectly. "We have watched your world for centuries," continued Yulong, "but we never expected this." Drew stepped forward. "You knew about the ships." The floating luminous being moved closer. "Not just knew. We feared them." Its voice sounded like chimes in the translator. "I am Observer Tellus of the Photonic Collective. The world ships are legendary weapons of terrible power." Commander Kang tensed at the word weapons, but Suman gestured for calm. "We've only begun to understand their technology," she said. "We didn't know others were aware of their existence." The silver-skinned humanoid laughed, a sound like tinkling bells. "Aware? Your ancestors' ships reshaped the galaxy. They moved stars, created habitable worlds, and when necessary, destroyed threats that could consume entire systems. Over the next hours, the humans learned the truth that had been hidden from them. The galaxy was old, filled with civilizations that had risen and fallen over millions of years. But none had achieved what the world ship builders had, the power to manipulate matter and energy on a cosmic scale. "Your ancestors didn't just build ships," explained Yulan. "They built vessels the size of small moons, capable of folding space itself. They could appear anywhere in the galaxy within moments." "But they disappeared," Suman said. "Why?" The being in the environmental suit spoke for the first time, its voice a series of clicks and whistles through the translator. "They faced something even they could not defeat, something they called the void current, a force that consumed everything it touched. They fought it to a standstill, but at great cost." Jumu connected this to what the ship's guidance system had told her. "They retreated to Earth. They changed themselves genetically to survive." "Yes," said Tellaris, glowing brighter. "And they scattered other survivors across the stars. They placed their world ships in hibernation to be awakened when needed again, when the void current returned." Menin said softly. The aliens grew still. Alum's skin paled. You know of this? He asked. Our ship warned us something is coming, Ju explained. Is that why you're here? Because this void current is returning. The six-limbed being, who had not spoken until now, moved forward. We detected the awakening of your world ship. We came to investigate. If what you said is true, then the old legends were correct. The builders left their ships as a defense against the void current's return. But we don't know how to use them, Suman said. We barely understand what they are. Tellus floated closer. The ships will teach you. They were designed to recognize the builder descendants. That is why they respond to your touch, your DNA. The question, said Ulam, is whether the galaxy can trust humans with such power. Your kind is young, divided, often violent. Suman felt the weight of this moment. Earth had just discovered it was not alone in the universe, and already its trustworthiness was being questioned. We are young, she agreed, but we learn quickly. And if this threat is real, we will need each other. Over the following weeks, more alien vessels arrived. News of the awakened world ships spread across the galaxy. Some came offering knowledge and alliance. Others came to observe or verify the rumors themselves. On Earth, the discovery changed everything. Nations that had been enemies for centuries found common purpose. The knowledge that humanity descended from an advanced civilization that had once been respected and feared throughout the galaxy filled people with both pride and concern. The world ship Hinu, now fully activated, rose from Antarctica in a display of power that left witnesses speechless. It hovered above Earth, its massive form visible from the ground like a new moon in the sky. When Ju activated its communication systems fully, messages poured in from across the stars. Survivors of the original Exodus, descendants of those who had fled in the smaller ships. They had established colonies, preserved knowledge, and waited for Earth to reawaken. We have cousins among the stars, Suman told the United Earth Council, and they've been waiting for us. But not all news was welcome. The alien coalition confirmed what the world ship had warned. The void current was indeed returning. Strange readings from distant star systems showed evidence of its approach. We have perhaps 2 Earth years. Ulam mourned during a council meeting. Then it will reach populated systems. Humanity found itself in an impossible position. Newly introduced to a galactic community, entrusted with the most powerful technology known, and facing a threat it barely understood. We need to learn everything we can as quickly as we can. Ju told the council. The world ships are the key, not just to our survival, but to the survival of all intelligent life. As Earth prepared for its new role, Ambassador Suman Ba looked out at the stars from the observation deck of the orbital platform. The galaxy had just become much larger, much more wonderful, and much more dangerous than anyone had ever imagined. And humanity was at the center of it all. 6 months after first contact, humanity had activated 3 world ships. Captain Mun Kang commanded the Handu as it conducted its first interstellar journey to the nearby TRAPPIST system. On Earth, the discovery created political upheaval. The United Nations World Ship Authority formed under Director Don Kim's leadership, but competing national interests threatened unity. These vessels represent power beyond measure, argued Security Chief Taho Lee during a closed council session. We must maintain military control. Dr. Ju Park countered. They were built for exploration and preservation, not conquest. The records are clear on this. Meanwhile, the coalition of alien species known as the Stability Concord grew increasingly concerned about humanity's rapid advancement. They've achieved in months what took other species centuries, warned the Concord's envoy during a private meeting with Ambassador Suman Ba. Some fear history repeating itself. While exploring the data archives aboard the Hanu, engineer Hyan Rio made a disturbing discovery. The world ships weren't just exploration vessels, she reported. They were built as weapons against something the ancients called the void current, something they feared enough to build ships the size of moons. Ancient star maps indicated this threat had last been seen in a region now returning unusual readings. Humanity would need to unite both internally and with their new galactic neighbors if they hoped to face what was coming. The Handu moved through space unlike any vessel humans had built. It did not push against the vacuum or burn fuel. Instead, it folded space around itself, stepping through the wrinkles between stars. Captain Mijin Kang stood on the bridge, watching as the distant sun of the TRAPPIST system grew larger on the main display. Time to arrival, he asked. 3 minutes, Captain, replied Navigator Suing Yun. All systems normal. Menon still found it hard to believe. 6 months ago, he had been a military commander helping scientists explore an ancient relic. Now he commanded a vessel larger than some cities, capable of crossing light years and hours. The Hanu carried 2,000 people, scientists, military personnel, and specialists from dozens of nations. They were humanity's first true interstellar explorers, though they still barely understood the ship they traveled in. Receiving transmission from the luminous tide, reported communications officer Jin Mucho. The tidal Confederacy vessel is requesting permission to meet us at Trappist. The aliens had been watching humanity's progress closely. Some offered help and knowledge. Others kept their distance, observing with what seemed like concern. Grant permission, and said, tell them we welcome their expertise. Back on Earth, the tensions were growing. Director Don Kim called an emergency meeting of the World Ship Authority. Representatives from 20 nations gathered in the underground chamber beneath Geneva. The Chinese vessel Tianlong has begun weapons testing without authorization, Director Kim announced. The Russian Federation demands equal access to the Europa ship. The American Congress is threatening to withdraw funding unless their scientists receive priority access to the propulsion systems. Ambassador Suman Ba rubbed her temples. We cannot afford division, not now. The aliens are watching us, Dr. Ju Park reminded them. Every move we make affects how they see us. Security Chief Taho Lee slammed his fist on the table. And they should see us as strong. United in purpose, yes, but not weak. These ships give us the power to protect Earth. We would be fools not to use it. Use it how? Ju asked. By threatening other worlds. That's not what the builders intended. The debate raged for hours. In the end, they reached an uneasy compromise. The world ships would remain under international control. Each nation would provide specialists, but no single country would hold command. For now, at least, humanity would present a unified face to the galaxy. But unity was becoming harder to maintain. The world ships had changed everything. Nations that controlled a world ship suddenly had power far beyond nuclear weapons or economic might. The balance of power that had existed for decades was crumbling. Aboard the Hanu, engineer Haiyan Ryu worked tirelessly in the data archives. The ship contained knowledge spanning thousands of years, the complete history of the builders, their technology, and their long war against the void current. Look at this, she told Jinwu, calling up ancient battle records. The builders didn't just fight. They sacrificed entire star systems to contain the current. The images showed world ships creating massive gravity wells, redirecting the flow of strange dark energy that seemed to consume everything it touched. Planets were moved to serve as barriers. Stars were extinguished to create dead zones the current could not cross. They were desperate, Jinwu said softly. They knew if they failed, all life would end. Haiyan nodded. And now we're expected to take their place. Thus, who couldn't even unite our own planet before the ships were found. When the Handu arrived at the Trappist system, they found the luminous tide already waiting. The alien vessel was beautiful, a spiral of crystal and light that seemed to dance among the stars. Unlike the world ships, it was small, elegant, and clearly designed for diplomacy rather than war. Captain Menon welcomed the alien delegation aboard. The leader of the group was a title named Yulam, the same diplomat who had first contacted Earth. Captain Kang, said Yulam, his gills fluttering in what seemed to be nervousness. Your ship is impressive. You have mastered its basic functions quickly. Basic functions? Menon smiled. We thought we were doing rather well. Ulam's skin changed to a lighter shade. That is what concerns the Concorde. You don't yet understand what these ships are truly capable of. The Hess, what you call the Antarctic ship, has the power to create and destroy stars if fully activated. The human delegation fell silent. We didn't know, Menon finally said. This is why many fear humanity's rise, Ulam explained. The builders were wise, tempered by millennia of civilization. Humanity is young, divided, still fighting among yourselves, yet now you control the most powerful weapons ever created. Back on Earth, those divisions were growing deeper. Several nations had withdrawn from the World Ship Authority, demanding independent access to the ship. Military forces around the world were on high alert. In the midst of this tension, Dr. Ju Park made a critical discovery while studying the translation of ancient builder texts. She found references to a safeguard built into the world ships. They can't be used against each other, she told Director Kim. The builders feared civil war, so they programmed the ships to shut down if ever turned against their sisters. Is this true of their other weapon systems as well? Asked Tao. No, Ju admitted. They can still be used to destroy other targets, but not each other. This information spread quickly among the world's leaders. If no nation could use a world ship to threaten another world ship, perhaps cooperation was the only path forward. As the crisis on Earth continued, the whole's mission took on new urgency. The tidal confederacy had shared data showing disturbances at the edge of known space, signs that the void current was active again after 50 millennia of dormancy. "We need to see it for ourselves," Menon told his crew. "Set course for the sickness rift." The journey would take them farther from Earth than any human had ever traveled. They would be the first to witness the return of an ancient enemy, one that had nearly destroyed their ancestors at the height of their power. As the Handu prepared to depart, Yulan requested to join them. "My people remember the last war," he said. "Our ancestors fought alongside the builders. We may be able to help." Menon accepted the offer. They would need all the help they could get. On Earth, Ambassador Suman addressed the United Nations General Assembly in an impassioned speech that was broadcast worldwide. "We stand at a crossroads," she told them. "Our ancestors faced this threat united, and still they barely survived. If we face it divided, we will surely fall. The world ships were not given to us to fight each other. They were left as a shield, not just for humanity, but for all life in the galaxy." As she spoke, news arrived from the distant sickness sector. The Handu had arrived at the edge of the disturbance. What they found there changed everything. The void current emerged at the galaxy's edge exactly as the ancient records had predicted, a cosmic horror that didn't simply destroy worlds but erased them from existence, consuming energy and matter alike. Captain M. Kang coordinated humanity's response from the bridge of the Handu. "All world ships, maintain formation. Remember your training." The 7 activated world ships represented Earth's contribution to a hastily formed defense alliance. Many alien species who had initially feared humanity now fought alongside them. Dr. Ju Park had uncovered the final piece of the puzzle just days before the confrontation. "Our ancestors didn't disappear," she explained during the emergency council. "They transformed. We are them, genetically modified to survive on Earth while the threat passed, designed to awaken the fleet when needed." As the void current approached, the world ships revealed their true purpose. They didn't just move through space, they could manipulate it. Under Captain Kang's command, the fleet created a containment field that redirected the entropic energy of the void current back upon itself. The battle lasted 3 days in normal space, though subjective time for the crew stretched much longer. When it ended, humanity had proven itself worthy of its inheritance. Ambassador Sanbat addressed the Galactic Council 1 month later. "We didn't ask for this responsibility, but we accept it, not as conquerors, but as guardians. The technology of our ancestors, combined with the adaptability that Earth forged in us, makes us uniquely suited to this role." A new era had begun, humanity stepping onto the galactic stage not as newcomers, but as returning protectors, their planet-sized ships a shield against the darkness that lurked between stars. It looked like a storm that should not exist in space. A vast, churning darkness that swallowed light. Stars vanished as it passed. Planets crumbled. The very fabric of reality seemed to tear at its edges. The void current had returned. The crew of the Haniel watched in horror as the readings came in. They had arrived at the sickness rift to verify reports, but nothing had prepared them for the reality. "It's bigger than the records described," Hijin said, her voice barely a whisper, "much bigger." Captain M. Kang stood motionless, staring at the main screen. The current was still distant, but sensors showed it was moving toward populated star systems. "Send the data to Earth," he ordered. "Then contact every alien vessel within range. We need to warn them." Yulam, the tidal diplomat, moved closer to the display. His skin had turned a pale gray. "I've seen records of the last incursion, but this is worse." The journey back to Earth was tense. The data they brought sparked immediate action. Earth's remaining 7 world ships were activated, their systems coming online faster than anyone thought possible. The ships seemed to sense the coming danger. In the weeks that followed, the greatest fleet ever assembled formed in Earth orbit. Vessels from 37 spacefaring species gathered, some massive dreadnoughts, others small but nimble craft. At the center of the fleet were the world ships, looming like moons, their ancient hulls gleaming. Dr. Ju Park worked day and night in the archives, searching for anything that might help. What she found changed everything. The emergency council gathered on the Hanel. Leaders from Earth and representatives from alien worlds listened as Ju revealed the truth. The builders, our ancestors, didn't just leave these ships as tools, she explained. They modified themselves genetically, encoding the knowledge of how to use these vessels in our very DNA. She displayed complex genetic sequences on the screen. These patterns exist in all humans. They're not random. They're information waiting to be activated. How? Asked Director Kim. Through direct neural connection to the ships, Ju said. The builders designed us to be living keys. Our minds can link directly with the world ships, unlocking their full potential. The implications were staggering. Humans had thought they were learning to use ancient technology. In truth, they were remembering skills buried in their genetic code. The first tests were conducted immediately. Volunteers connected to neural interfaces within the ships. The results exceeded all expectations. People who had never seen the ship systems before suddenly understood them completely. The world ships responded to thought commands with perfect precision. Captain Menon was among the first to connect. When he returned to awareness, his eyes held a new depth. I remember.